has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast. It's Ferrall on a bench, coast to coast in the biggest way possible, hanging out the bad seed, the bad apple with a bad attitude. We are live in New York City, the Big Apple. Ooh. People dressed in plastic bags, directing traffic, some kind of fashion shake-it-up should be, along with the Tutty and Tater King himself, the founder of the Isle Seed Podcast, the rights holder of the Seed of Integrity, and the Put It With a Golf guru, Carver High, this afternoon on a St. Ferrelli's Day. The luck of the Irish with you, Carver High. Also, Mafia running it with Luke Hamilton, fresh off of nudity and debauchery at a bachelor party at Killington with the snow bunnies and hot tub romances and Veuve Clicquot and reefer madness. It is a Misery Monday. The rundown is Coach Young later in the final hour, but in this first hour, a double shot with Morency and then the double shot with the coach, talking rack, obviously. Well, it's set, and what's really unavoidable is people asking you wherever you go today, who do you think's going to win the NCAA tournament? Have you filled out a bracket? A guy asked me. He said, Ferrall, did you do a bracket? And I said, I'd rather go to lunch with my ex-wife. I mean, honestly, who's going to win? Now, I'm sure that we have people here that have already figured out every game, and they're 100%. They'll get every game right. I mean, they're just fantastic cappers, like just the most amazing predictions you've ever seen in your life. Can't wait to see them all just win every single bet. I'm looking forward to that, especially later this week when we do shows down at the network studios. We'll see everyone's brackets, that they've gotten every game right, every bet right. But is there anything worse in television history than watching people on the day after the selections, they do every pick of every game, of every region, of every single matchup. And then if you turn the channel, it gets worse because it's everywhere. It's like I even saw the guys like Christopher Reeve's son doing predictions on Good Morning America this morning when I came home from playing basketball. I'm like, wait a minute, what does this guy have to do with sports? Like, is he now a sportscaster? He's picking games now, this guy? Telling me who's going to win the regions? Nobody knows anything. You know what I did? I read an article today about, Mike, the seeds of, like, the history of this tournament. And, I mean, it's enough to make you dizzy. It's enough to make you end up in a rubber room. Well, like, if you went by the trends of the seeds in the history of this tournament, it's like reading the Bible. It's War and Peace. You'll be reading about it for days. Like, the number 5 has never won the tournament. Like, oh, my God, I can't even stand it. Here's what I want to do. I want to watch the games. Yeah. That's it. And I want to bet on them as they come. I'm not picking anything. I'm not predicting. I know nothing. I have no idea who's going to win anything. I don't.
No, I understand that. And happy Monday to you. The madness is here, as you just said. It's here. It's here. Everywhere. It's unavoidable. It's everywhere that you turn.
It's
huge. A couple things off of what you just said. Number one, you're right. And I have already seen it's this. They shouldn't even play. It's over. Florida's already won.
Oh, yeah.
Florida's won the tournament. Like, there's really no point in playing these games over the next 3 weeks because
give them the title.
They've already won the Florida
Gators.
Trophy. I mean, man, you talk about a team that's just getting, everybody's picking. I mean, Florida's winning. Oh, Florida's the best team. Okay. All right. We'll see.
Right.
In fact, we'll see how that all goes. And like you just said, it's such a difference nowadays from, I know we're doing an old back in my day thing I'm about to do here, but 20 years ago, 25 years ago, we have so much more data now and social media, and everybody's looking for that edge, and everybody's looking for that. There is just, you can get swallowed up with all of it. This team's overseeded, underseeded, this seed against this seed against that. I mean, I remember where we just, give me the bracket. I've watched these two teams play. That team sucks and that team's good. I'm taking that team. And now it's just, well, you don't understand though. That team's a 12 and then 12's been no. You know, it's gotten a little out of the weeds now with some of the stuff that goes on with it.
It's out of control. And then last week we were talking about with Gabe, like he wants it to be even bigger. Like, isn't it big enough?
I think we're just where we are. Me and you have said this for a while. I don't see why you need more than 68. I think that 68's a pretty big number that they've got cooking there. So you still got problems at 68. You know, and teams that probably shouldn't be in. I'm sure we're going to spend time on the North Carolina stuff. You know, it's nice.
You think?
It doesn't look too shady when your athletic director's the chair and he's getting an extra $110,000 in his pocket because they make the tournament. You know, that stuff doesn't look shady at all. But he wasn't in the room.
I don't believe for a minute anything that they said about him. I don't believe a word of it. I don't believe any of their holier-than-thou bullshack that he's taken out of the room and he doesn't vote on and everything else. You know, but he slept with them for months on end, didn't he, with everyone that was in the room? Yeah. He's got influence over everyone in the room. He's the head of the whole GDM thing. I mean, he's the chair. He's in charge. So they're like all sucking up to him. Listen, I don't even care about his broke ass. No one cares about him.
Right.
Let me just say this. I've never heard of him. I don't care if he vanished tomorrow and they sent him to San Salvador. Like, honestly, here's the deal. North Carolina did not deserve to be in the tournament.
No.
Based on everything that they stand by when it comes to who they decide goes with quad 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that's just all there is to it. They had one quad 1 win. That was it. West Virginia had 6. Indiana had 4. West Virginia had 5 of the 6 on the road. West Virginia had 4 of the 5 were ranked teams that they beat. And they didn't get in. And now I think that the governor saying he's going to sue the NCAA is now hillbilly time in West Virginia.
Right.
Why don't you calm down, sir, and go have some whiskey? It's St. Patrick's Day. You're not winning a lawsuit because your team didn't get into the NCAA tournament. That was one of the phoniest things I've ever heard in my life today, that he's going to sue the NCAA because they didn't get in. Shut up.
He did a big press conference today. He had a big press conference. The governor, the attorney general, they're all standing there like,
no one's ever heard of him.
Here's
how big West Virginia is. Let me just show you. You know, like, can I do here's a P. Okay, you see that little P? P in a pot.
Yeah.
That's the state of West Virginia. You can drive through West Virginia in 30 minutes.
No doubt.
I'm surprised,
look, there's two things.
It's the state, and I loved it. I'm from Pittsburgh. I love West Virginia. But let's not forget its place in the grand scheme of things. They got no juice.
There's two things that, for me, off of yesterday need to change, and we'll talk about them later in the show. Number one, enough with the athletic directors on these committees. Go and get Palm and DeCourcy and Lenardi. Go throw all them in a room and let them go figure out who's supposed to be in the tournament. I'm tired of athletic directors. And number two, I'm tired of the conference championship games meaning absolutely nothing. They must have seeded that tournament 5 days ago. Michigan won the Big Ten tournament. I mean, and they got absolutely no juice for doing it.
They're the 5.
I mean, it's like the team they beat was a 3. Like, why have the tournament if it means nothing?
I have a problem that they let 14 SEC teams in. I just don't think that should be allowed either.
which is a great place to be. Are you in the locker room? Like, you giving like the Any Given Sunday inches Al Pacino speech? Are we there yet?
Oh yeah, I think we've been there. We're gonna have a long talk with Rob today about the 99 199 issue from last week. Like, I just don't get how he is still employed. We gotta talk to ownership about that one.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
They're also showing a little bit more propensity to take the pull-up jumper, which I think is important for them. Aiden Holloway's been better. Brant Nelson's staying out of foul trouble. Clifford Murray is attacking the offensive boards and being the defensive threat that they need. If Alabama can defend, and they make a run, and they win the SEC tournament, I think they're the fourth number one seed.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
That is also value to be the best player on the best team. To me, it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. There is no doubt about it.
The Nuggets probably going to finish, second overall in the conference here, and it's not going to get him the MVP. We'll see how it is down the stretch, and I assume this is going to tighten up, but barring a huge drop-off for OKC as a team, not just SGA, you could probably pencil him in for 30 a night.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You can catch Sports Rage weeknights at 10 East on our TV and radio outlets. We get Morency for a double shot every day from Vancouver on C2C. Gabe, good to see you. Hope you had a good weekend. The North Carolina conspiracy with them getting in. And, you know, I've been reasonable about it. All I've said is that I put West Virginia first, that they should have been in, not North Carolina. And then with my Hoosiers, I said all I've said is that they were better than North Carolina as well. When it boiled down to it, in quad 1, 2, they had 4 wins. They had 0 losses in quad 3 and 4. And North Carolina had 1 win, and they had nothing but disaster in 2, 3, and 4. And all I know is they let them in. I thought West Virginia should have got in for sure. I knew Indiana wasn't going to get in when I saw the first couple of play-in games that were announced, that they weren't one of them. When I saw those evaporate, I knew they weren't going to the Midwest. I knew they weren't going to be the 11 in the Midwest. Then I knew they weren't going. So I was like, all right, well, then I knew they wouldn't go to the NIT either, because they're stuck up. They still think they matter, even though it's been years since they mattered. Their blue blood status has been evaporated. And I tweeted yesterday, who's the next hack coach are they going to screw the program up even further with? But there is no way you can sell me on North Carolina over West Virginia. No way. I will lose my mind.
No, I understand the frustration of people, especially, that with the head of the committee being the North Carolina athletic director, it doesn't look good. But I've said this for years, Scott, and I'm not going to get upset about the 69th, 70th, 71st best teams in the country. This is the problem when I talk about expansion with the college football playoffs. It'll be the same thing, right? You're going to make it 14 teams, the 15 teams get a pitch. You want to make it 16, then the 17 team is going to complain. West Virginia wasn't winning a national championship. Indiana wasn't winning a national championship. Indiana, and you guys talked about it last week, Indiana were in tough spot once Texas looked good, and there were other teams that were playing that were on the bubble that were winning basketball games. So I thought Indiana were going to get in.
15 games, and they got into the tournament. They're the most losses ever allowed in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, well, listen, it is what it is, but does it really matter? I mean, is it worth, like, I'm not going to rage about it. It's like I said, they're mediocre teams. West Virginia have a lot bigger problems in their state than their basketball team not making the tournament. So if the governor wants to waste his time grandstanding,
as I stated, like
about a 19-win team.
No one even knows who he is.
Listen, I think the 22 wins, whatever, you get over 20, it sort of looks better. The fact that they're blue bloods, but really, I'm not going to lose sleep whoever plays in the freaking play-in game. Like, really, I don't care. I will say this, though, Scott. I thought the committee, and the North Carolina stuff, I get it. You know what I mean? We want to screw West Virginia. I sympathize with the kids, the players on West Virginia. But the committee as a whole, I thought did a pretty terrible job, actually. And I'm not one of these, like, basketball nerds that freaks out about this stuff normally. But I've said it before. You and I agree with it. The conference tournaments don't mean anything. Point blank. Auburn lost 3 of their last 4 games. Why are they the first overall 1 seed?
How is that possible?
The Michigan Wolverines just won the Big Ten tournament, Scott. Didn't they just beat Wisconsin?
Got nothing for it.
They got
a
5 seed.
For it.
Wisconsin's a 3 seed.
And
Louisville makes it to the final. Louisville makes it to the final of the ACC. You're an 8 seed. Gonzaga's top 10 in like every metric. They're an 8 seed.
And they have their worst year in ever.
Yeah, I could go on. Like, think of it if you're Michigan, Scott. So, like, what are we getting punished for? Well, I know. We lost twice to Michigan State in the last 2 weeks. God forbid.
They're being punished because Dusty May didn't go back to Indiana to take the Hoosiers out.
But of all teams, Scott, like, and I even posted before, like, right when Selection Sunday started, I said the one team nobody wants to get is UC San Diego. And lo and behold, the Michigan Wolverines. Think about that if you're Michigan. You win the Big Ten. You get UC San Diego, who are on like a 15-game win streak, number 1 team against the spread in the country. And if you survive that, you get Texas A&M right after. Look at if you're Houston. That's what I'm talking about. Like the overall 1 seed. If you're the Houston Cougars, you've had a dominant year. Once again, you're going to have to probably play Gonzaga in your second game, Scott. Like, I thought the committee seeding was whacked, bro. The Oregon Ducks are a 5 seed. How are Oregon a 5 seed and Michigan a 5 seed? And get this. So Michigan are a 5 seed, guys. Yet they have to go to Denver and play like one of the last games of the night in the West Coast time zone against a team from California that's used to the West Coast time zone. Meanwhile, the Oregon Ducks are a 5 seed, Scott. They get put in Seattle, Washington. Like, that's like a reward for them.
Yeah, but you have to admit that, Carver High and I love the watching the UC San Diego's and the West Coast Conference teams, the Big West teams, and the Irvine Anteaters and all the rest. But when they play a behemoth like Michigan, they're going to get their ass beat one way or the other. Michigan's not losing to them.
No, I don't think so either. And I'm glad, actually, that the public and that the basketball hipsters like UC San Diego as much as they do. Seth Davis picked them. All
he
the
picked
other
every
talking
upset
heads
in America. He's doing a show right now with the 8 biggest upsets. Just shut up. Here's the deal. Talk about something that matters other than his crappy picks.
But
let's look at the Michigan kid going end to end in 3 seconds and shooting a layup, and nobody stopped him. Like, I'm watching the game with my buddy, and I thought, because I was hammered, and I was like, did that just happen?
They were 14-1 to win the Big Ten tournament coming into that. They were plus 160.
Could you believe that kid, how
yesterday.
fast he shot that layup? Like, I thought he took 3 steps the whole court, and it was in. I was like,
it was amazing, too. Nobody in Wisconsin, like, really got in his way. They kind of moved out of his ways. He did. They were kind of like, he scored. I don't think he thought he was going to be able to pull it off, but Michigan pulled that off years ago. I've said it. Michigan are a really good Big Ten tournament team. I think they get past UC San Diego, and for betting purposes, the numbers already come down. It was 3.5. It briefly hit 4.5 for a second, and now it's settled in at 2.5 right now, as UC San Diego will be one of the trendier picks of the week. But Michigan are going to beat them, and I think Michigan will beat Texas A&M after.
Most people can't name one player on that team, or the coach, or their nickname. Most of them, they have no idea what they're betting on. They're just stupid.
which is a great place to be. Are you in the locker room? Like, you giving like the Any Given Sunday inches Al Pacino speech? Are we there yet?
Oh yeah, I think we've been there. We're gonna have a long talk with Rob today about the 99-199 issue from last week. Like, I just don't get how he is still employed. We gotta talk to ownership about that one.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
They're also showing a little bit more propensity to take the pull-up jumper, which I think is important for them. Aiden Holloway's been better. Brant Nelson's staying out of foul trouble. Clifford Murray is attacking the offensive boards and being the defensive threat that they need. If Alabama can defend, and they make a run, and they win the SEC tournament, I think they're the fourth number one seed.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
That is also value to be the best player on the best team. To me, it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. There is no doubt about it.
The Nuggets probably going to finish, second overall in the conference here, and it's not going to get him the MVP. We'll see how it is down the stretch, and I assume this is going to tighten up, but barring a huge drop-off for OKC as a team, not just SGA, you could probably pencil him in for 30 tonight.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
So we're talking to Morency. Will you be watching your Dodgers at 3 a.m. in Vancouver when they play the Cubs for the next 2 days without Mookie Betts, who's lost 15 pounds during his brief illness?
Yeah, it's too bad for Mookie Betts not going to play in these 2 games. Last year, Scott, I made it through the first game. And the second game, I fell asleep after the 4th or 5th inning. It starts at 3 a.m. for me. I would almost prefer if it was 6 a.m. and you just sort of get up, because 3 a.m. is a real in between for me. I usually go to bed around 3 a.m. That's sort of that's the general area of the time I usually shut it down during the week. So I'll watch we'll take it inning by inning.
You go to bed at 3 and you wake up at what time? Like 10 to 12? Because you go on at 12:15 with me.
I wake up kind of early. I'll wake up. I try to wake up at 9-ish type thing. One thing with the West Coast, the rest of the world is ahead of you, right? So, I wake up at 9 and things have already happened because it's 12.
You're not having people in the lead.
Well, look at today. Yeah, well, today was a good example, Scott. I actually had Rory McIlroy. I didn't take him before the tournament started. I liked him, but I didn't do it. But on Friday night, I said, you know what? I like Rory. He's plus 350 now or whatever. I'm going to take him. And, of course, it ends up going into a playoff. But 9 o'clock Eastern, Scott, was 6 o'clock Pacific. I wasn't staying up or getting up for 3 holes. You know what I'm saying? So I missed it. F1 sucks, too, bro. I'm a big F1 fan. And F1 is football is really cool. I love you know what it's like. Pacific time zone is the best for sports.
5 a.m. for those races.
Oh, it's the worst for F1,
time.
Scott. Oh, it's brutal. And it's always that. It's always in Asia or Europe. Right. It's always the worst time. 5:30 a.m. 6:30 a.m. It's never a good time.
I watch it in Vegas, right? So I'm in Vegas and I'm
that's
waiting.
Cool. Saturday
I got
night,
a 6 a.m. flight and I stay up and I watch F1 and then I go straight to the airport. I like it. I think it's a cool sport. I'm not any kind of a aficionado. I know several of the drivers now. I know their names at least, which is more than I can say for NASCAR. I don't know any of them.
NASCAR is boring, bro.
It's awful.
Dude, I bet on the NASCAR race yesterday, Scott. It was 5 hours, man. Like I'm watching other
How could
games,
you
I'm
bet
watching
on that?
basketball.
What's wrong with you?
I tune back in, and they're all like lap 67, a 550 or something. I'm like, dear God, you guys have been doing this for 2 hours. You're only in the 67 lap. Like,
It's so awful.
Like F1, Scott, it can't go longer than 2 hours. It's like basically if you don't finish, you don't finish. Like, and these guys don't play around, bro. Like they're like flying around the track. They don't overdo it. It's like 50 laps. You know what I mean? 70 laps.
And the tracks are crazy. They're fun. They're bizarre.
Yeah, they go around. Yeah.
And NASCAR,
you want to see them do it. Exactly.
The same
you want to
thing.
see
It's so awful.
How's he going to handle the corner? You're right. NASCAR is just around and around and around and around.
I can't take it. I've been to 50 races, and I literally have been in the infield of 50 races. I've never once watched a lap. All I've done was party and get drunk. Are we on the air? We are.
It is a good time going.
I never cared
it's
about
too long,
NASCAR. And Luke right now is leaving the set. He's quitting the job. He's going to quit because he's a NASCAR fan. He just walked out of the room at Lumen Technologies down there.
I think even Indy racing's more entertaining. The Indy League's really cool too.
I'm not. I have nothing to do with that. I like the Indianapolis 500. I've been to that, and I've actually seen that 13 times. I think it's cool as hell. But Indy Racing League or whatever it is, like I don't even know what that is. Listen, I'm a grown man, bro. I watch hockey, basketball, football.
Hey, we bet on
watch
them all, Scott.
baseball.
We bet on them all.
There's something wrong with you. Like, let me guess, you going to start betting on Korean baseball again? Have another COVID?
No, I'm not a big Korean. I never really was a big Korean baseball guy. I do bet on the Japanese league more, though. Hey, Hanshin Tigers beat the Dodgers.
Listening to guys on this network give me Korean baseball skinny. I wanted to stick a knife in my eyeball. Korean baseball, honest to Christ. I can't
what
take
it is, Scott, they play at like 3-4 in the morning. So like East Coast times. Like degenerates like it. The overnight degenerate bet. If you're betting Korean baseball, just bet the over. The parks are small.
What?
It's a high scoring league. It's a high scoring league.
What is happening here?
Japanese league goes under, Korean league goes over, Scott.
Which is a great place to be. Are you in the locker room? Like you giving like the Any Given Sunday inches Al Pacino speech? Are we there yet?
Oh yeah, I think we've been there. We're gonna have a long talk with Rob today about the 99-199 issue from last week. Like I just don't get how he is still employed. We got to talk to ownership about that one.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
They're also showing a little bit more propensity to take the pull-up jumper, which I think is important for them. Aiden Holloway's been better. Grant Nelson's staying out of foul trouble. Clifford Murray is attacking the offensive boards and being the defensive threat that they need. If Alabama can defend, and they make a run, and they win the SEC tournament, I think they're the fourth number one seed.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
That is also value to be the best player on the best team. To me, it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. There is no doubt about it.
The Nuggets probably going to finish, second overall in the conference here, and it's not going to get him the MVP. We'll see how it is down the stretch, and I assume this is going to tighten up, but barring a huge drop-off for OKC as a team, not just SGA, you could probably pencil him in for 30 tonight.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
right, so the field is set. It's very exciting. I have no idea what just happened. Was he trying to con me into betting on IndyCar racing, Korean and Japanese baseball? But I mean, what is happening? I can't even fathom. That guy just told me he bet on NASCAR. Like, what is happening to me here? I don't
he said,
I'm not happy.
He said he also got in on Rory late, right? Going into yesterday.
Who wouldn't have bet on Rory today in a playoff against Warren Spahn?
That guy, JJ Spuds, he had no shot.
What a meltdown!
When he went to put his head on the pillow last night, that was the end for him.
He didn't sleep.
It was the end for him. He had no shot, and honestly, Rory had the advantage because once Rory piped that first drive on 16 right down the middle, it was good night the lights for that guy because you could just tell.
How about that fat sand wedge he hit on 16? You knew he was finished, and then his tee shot on 17. He still doesn't believe it went in the water.
I know. I heard him after. I hit that so good. Dude, you hit it over the green. He didn't even – most guys hit it in the water on 17 short.
On the short side.
It in front. This guy hit it over the green. He hit it with so much gas. But he hit it great, he says. So, look.
Whatever.
That's a tough spot for him. He's going up against Rory in a 3-hole playoff. Like, that's not –
on St. Patty's Day. Like, my buddy sent me what is this? I gotta tell you the name of this place. He sent me a picture today. Hold on, where is it? Here it is. He sent me the Temple Bar in Dublin. Did you see this place today, packed with people? I mean, you have never seen anything like it. It was 3 p.m. in Dublin, and there must have been 100,000 people at the Temple Bar in Dublin. I mean, there was 100,000 people. They were going down the street. I mean, it was the most unbelievable bar scene I ever saw in my life.
I have been in the Temple Bar many times in my life. I obviously have never been in there on St. Patrick's Day. My spot in the Temple Bar, by the way, if you ever go there, is Gogarty's. I like Gogarty's. They've got music on like 3 or 4 floors in that place. Great pint of Guinness. Fitzgerald's down the block does pour the best pint of Guinness in all of Dublin. But Gogarty's is my spot in the Temple Bar. I can imagine it was quite the scene today on the national holiday. Everybody loves St. Patty's getting involved here, as you can tell. And we'll be having a pint of Guinness tonight. After the shows, we'll have a Guinness.
I gotta wait till after the semifinal tonight for Hated Most, a late night tip at 9:45.
What are they doing? Scheduling that on a high holy day? I mean, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, that's just not right whatsoever. The tournament field is set. We are ready. The brackets are here. 68 teams, of course, and that's the whole thing. Like, look at these guys. The graphics team at SportsGrid, they got all sorts of great stuff for you today, but that is the big picture. Every team on that bracket. And by the time, a couple weeks from now, we'll be filling in the bottom of it with a winner. A long road to the Final Four begins this week. Why don't we start with this last 4 in, last 4 out stuff? And, of course, the last 4 teams that are in the tournament, we have discussed a little bit. North Carolina, who's going to play the Dutch Oven and San Diego State in one of the play-in games, and then Texas and Xavier, who are in the other. Of course, North Carolina is the team that everybody has the biggest problem with because they were 1-12 in Quad 1 games this year. Their athletic director, Bubba Cunningham, was on the chair of the committee, and it's now come out today that when they make the tournament, he gets an extra like $110,000 in his paycheck when that happens. You gave off all the metrics before. West Virginia has ridiculous amounts of Quad 1 wins, especially some key ones on the road. I personally think Indiana had a better, and I was with you. I don't think Indiana deserved to be in, but I thought they had a better resume than North Carolina did going into this weekend. That's not the team. That's not the team that I thought would bump Indiana from being in the big dance, but. We know how these things go, and sometimes there's more to it than just wins and losses. There's other things at play.
Well, obviously there's other things at play. Corruption in the highest order is what's in play. And let me tell you something. I don't care what anybody thinks. And I know they look good in a couple games, but, Texas with 15 losses gets in. I mean, what is next? 20 lost teams? And what is next? How can you lose 15 games and get into the NCAA tournament? I mean, just how's that possible? Like, I'm sitting here admitting, I'm like, Indiana was 19-12, whatever it was, and I said they don't deserve to be in. And yet we're allowing 15 lost teams in because they play in the SEC. That's some serious bullshit is what it is. It's absolute bullshit. And the North Carolina, I'm not going to keep repeating myself. They shouldn't be in the tournament. And they are. So, what's going to happen. They're going to win. They're going to win tomorrow against San Diego State. And, I'm not going to be surprised at all if Texas wins. And, these other – now, the thing that gets me is how, and I wrote this on – I told you I wrote this on X. They have screwed up Indiana basketball so bad, they paid the football coach $8 million. That's how bad, $8 million a year for Signetti. And meanwhile, they can't hire a basketball coach to save their ass that's ever going to make them matter again since Bob Knight won 3 national championships and the only undefeated season in college basketball history, 32-0 in 1976. They are no longer a blue blood. They no longer matter. And they have ruined Indiana basketball. They really have. And then what really gets me is that they stick their nose up to the NIT and any other tournament that wants them. Whereas, like, I come from the school of thought of, I'm a baller. I want to play ball. I'm on that team. I want to go play in the NIT. Or I want to go play in the tournament in Vegas, the Crown, with the rest of the Big Ten teams that are going there. Like, I want to go play ball. But Indiana turns their nose up to all these tournaments every time. If they don't get in the NCAAs, shut it down. Their season's over. They just pack it in. And I think that's bullshit. And I guarantee you, everything I said about that administration and athletic department, I said these morons have ruined Indiana basketball. Bob Knight is turning in his grave at what they have done to Indiana basketball. It's embarrassing now. Are they really, like, I have to say this just because I'm a jerk. You're going to hire the Drake coach? That's it.
Yeah,
you know what? What is next? What is it? You might as well hire me. I could coach him on a bottle of rum. Like, what is happening here? And now, what did I hear today? Mick Cronin's a favorite for the Villanova job, but Indiana doesn't want him.
Wow.
Oh my God! Don't get me started. Like, I can't even. Listen. I'm gonna take my Indiana sweatshirt out in the backyard and burn it. I'm glad my son didn't transfer to Indiana. My daughter, you know what she said? I said, "Where are you going to school?" She goes, "I wouldn't go to that hillbilly school if you paid me." She called it a hillbilly school. And let me tell you something. West Virginia, they know about hillbillies too.
Look,
that governor down there having a press conference is the biggest hillbilly thing I've ever seen in my life.
I will say, you're going to like, did you see what they called the NCAA, the National Corrupt Athletic Association?
Well, it is. It always has been.
So that's a pretty good job by the governor. Look, if the day comes where they hire Mick Cronin, Villanova, and Indiana hires the Drake coach the same day, I'm calling out that day.
You and I need to be off that day. We need to go drink Guinness.
Out that day.
We'll have our own St. Patty's Day Carver High.
If you have been screaming about Mick Cronin for months, and if Villanova comes and takes him out from under you while you're hiring this guy from Drake, that would be not a good scene around here. It's not a good scene.
The humanity of it all.
Which is a great place to be. Are you in the locker room? Like, you giving like the Any Given Sunday inches Al Pacino speech? Are we there yet?
Oh yeah, I think we've been there. We're gonna have a long talk with Rob today about the 99-199 issue from last week. Like, I just don't get how he is still employed. We got to talk to ownership about that one.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
They're also showing a little bit more propensity to take the pull-up jumper, which I think is important for them. Aiden Holloway's been better. Brant Nelson's getting staying out of foul trouble. Clifford Murray is attacking the offensive boards and being the defensive threat that they need. If Alabama can defend, and they make a run, and they win the SEC tournament, I think they're the fourth number one seed.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
That is also value to be the best player on the best team. To me, it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. There is no doubt about it.
The Nuggets probably going to finish, second overall in the conference here, and it's not going to get him the MVP. We'll see how it is down the stretch, and I assume this is going to tighten up, but barring a huge drop-off for OKC as a team, not just SGA, you could probably pencil him in for 30 a night.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
This is rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Yeah, you got to just say what you just said to me. Like, it's so embarrassing.
Well, right.
It really is. Like, honestly, just tell them what you just said to me. This is why this is demented and corrupt. Tell them what you just said to me.
The SEC got 14 teams in, and I get it. If you listen to these basketball people talk, it's the greatest conference in the history of college basketball.
No, it isn't.
The SEC is just so good. Texas and Oklahoma were 6-12 in conference play this year. 6-12. I don't care if they were playing the Knicks and the Lakers. Like, I don't care who they were playing. If you go 6-12 in your conference, Oklahoma's in an 8-9 game, and they went 6-12 in their conference. Like, there's a problem with the way that they've started to do these things. There's a problem with how, like, I feel like, too, like I was saying to you, so I said it real fast, and then you had to talk to Gabe. They got to stop with these suits. It's like the football. These suits, athletic directors, crack crab and lobster, they're there for the meal. These people are there for their own agendas.
People.
They're there for their own agendas, and I'm telling you, the last couple of years, they have gotten so lazy. All of these people that make that committee, they must go in there on Wednesday, fill the whole board out, and then stuff their face for 4 days. Because these tournaments don't matter. Nothing matters that happens last week. Why have it? Get some people making these decisions that don't have ties to schools, conferences, or anything else. Get the people who watch the games.
So North Carolina did well in the ACC tournament, right? And got to the game against Duke, and they lost, and whatever, they lost by 3. But they still got in. But it did matter because they played well and got in, and Texas played well and got in. And but, you know, this is supposed to be based on your alleged regular season and your alleged record in conference play and quad 1, 2, 3, 4 games during a regular season, and only judged on getting a bid like North Carolina State did last year by winning the ACC tournament and getting a automatic bid. I don't have a problem with conference tournaments being automatic bid tournaments. What I got a problem is when you let a North Carolina play a couple games and win, and they suddenly get rewarded, or you're rewarding teams that go 6-12 in conference play as if the conference is so great and those games don't matter. Well, then what the F does Indiana's win at Michigan State at the Breslin Center, or their win against Purdue where they beat their ass And isn't Purdue like a 4? They're a 4 seed. They beat their ass. Do you remember the second half? They put 48 on them. And then they don't get rewarded at all for those wins, but they get judged for losing to Oregon by 13 in the first round of the Big Ten tournament. What is the difference between Duke beating North Carolina by 3 or Indiana losing by 13? Or how about when Indiana was up 1 on Oregon and Eugene with 90 seconds left, and then the refs gave Oregon 15 free throws in the last 90 seconds? Explain it to me. That's why the whole thing is bullshit. The whole thing is bullshit. And I don't even care about it. Say something. I care about now individual games. That's it. I love the tournament. I love the NCAA tournament. I love every game starting tomorrow. Every game. But this whole Selection Sunday show and all their brackets and everybody's entering bracket contests and hey, how many brackets did you fill out, Ferrall? Shut up. I don't do that.
Look,
I do games. I watch games. That's it. That's all I do. I don't
It's
act
about
what am I going to win $50 million on some bracket challenge? Good effing luck. I might as well play the Powerball.
Look, the last thing I'll say about this, then I want to show you the brackets and we'll actually get to it, is I think what most people want, whether it's me, you, or anybody else, is we just want there to be some consistency. Like 1 year,
there's none of that.
There's 1 year, there's a certain set of criteria and agenda to get a team into the tournament. And then the next year, the next set of suits gives you a different set of criteria. You remember last year they didn't let who's the big kid in on Indiana State? Remember they didn't let them in because they said they didn't the kid with the glasses. They didn't have enough quad 1 wins. That's what they said about Indiana State. And the other teams had better metrics. And then this year it's the teams with more quad 1 wins didn't get in. West Virginia, Indiana, and the team with the better metrics did. Figure it out and have a uniform standard year to year. If you're going to put these dopey suits in there who pick the teams, give them a uniform thing that they have to look for because they change their minds every year.
How about stopping this nonsense of these quad 1, 2, and 3, 4 games? Like they obviously don't matter. You win 6 of them, and then North Carolina wins 1 and gets in. You win 6, 5 on the road, for Christ's sakes. They won 5 on the road of their 6 quad 1 wins. Do you know how hard it is to win in that conference on the road? And then they get left out, and a 1-win, quad win team in North Carolina. You know what that is? That's the name on the jersey, and that's them saying, we don't want these hill jacks from West Virginia in the tournament. That's exactly what it is. Like, we don't want these hillbillies. We want North Carolina. We want to be able to have commercials where we can sell North Carolina and the brand of North Carolina Duke basketball. In fact, what we're going to do is we're going to let Duke play at home every year in Greensboro or in Charlotte or in Raleigh every single year that they exist so that they can get to the second weekend automatic. They play all home games. Who made that effing rule up? Like Christ almighty, it's so corrupt, it's not even funny, and always has been. This has been going on since I was in college. The NCAA tournament is corrupt. It's as corrupt as anything in America. It's as corrupt as the mob. In fact, it's probably run by the mob. I mean, I'm not even making this up. Like
it wouldn't surprise me.
It's ridiculous. Just give me the games and keep these fat people out of it. I hate these people.
I don't like them either. We'll come back and I will give you the
That guy
games.
in North Carolina, I hope his wife cheats on him tonight.
Oh, Bubba.
Bubba, what a loser. Oh, my God, what a liar and a thief. What a con man he is.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play. every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Yeah, and I just want to, last but not least, watching that phony ass, those two, that Bubba and that the brother standing there yesterday on that selection show, explaining how Bubba wasn't in the room when we did the North Carolina choice. Like, I believe that for 1 minute. Are you kidding me? How phony ass were those two? What a bunch of losers. All right, give me the regions. I can't even.
Well, that's,
take
They never do that, but they did it this year because they knew that Bubba was going to be sitting there sweating. They knew that was going to be the first question they asked him was about North Carolina. And by the way, I love Jay Wright a lot. Guy gave an awful answer about North Carolina, and then Jay sat there and goes, great answer. No, Jay, it wasn't a great answer. So Jay's already – we love Jay. I think he does a great job on TV. He did an awful job yesterday with the great answer after the guy talked about North Carolina. Jay's probably had steak dinner with that guy enough times. That's why he's not going to say anything bad about him.
His christening.
All right, South. Let's start with the South because Auburn's the number one overall region here, number one overall seed, even though they lost 3 of their last 4 games. Auburn will play the winner of Alabama State and St. Francis, Louisville, Creighton, Michigan against UC San Diego, Texas A&M, and Yale. Ole Miss will play the winner of North Carolina and San Diego State. Iowa State will play Lipscomb, Marquette, New Mexico, and Michigan State against Bryant out of the America East, the South region for you.
Yeah, listen, I guess the last time, frankly, that I think Michigan State was a 2, they went to the, I think all 3 times they've been a 2, they went to the Final Four. I think they're a really good team, a very physical team. And I think that, I watched them lose in the Big Ten tournament. Anything can happen in these tournament games. Same as the NCAA tournament, anything can happen. But they're not losing to Bryant. They're just too big and physical for Bryant. They're going to destroy them.
Yes, they are. The Auburn Tigers are the favorites for that, obviously, of the South region. I saw them at even money, actually, favorites to win the South region right now. With Michigan State, the second choice.
How could I take them the way they're losing? They've lost 3 of 4.
Yeah,
and they're the number 1 overall seed in the tournament. And that makes no sense to me either. How do you lose 3 of 4 and you're rewarded? Here we go again. And this is insanity.
And you sent me that clip of Pearl basically saying, why would I be panicked? We lost to 3, one of the 4 best teams in the country.
Well, that means that any good team can beat them.
They are not invincible. They can be beaten by the right team on the right day. Now
they will be beaten. They're not going to win it.
Look, I don't know when it's going to be. Could it be the first weekend? maybe not. The hard part for them is that if Louisville wins, they got to play Louisville in Kentucky, which is pretty
against
unfair.
Chucky Hepburn. Good
Against
luck.
Chucky Hepburn. And that Louisville team's got a little bit of a chip on their shoulder because they feel like they were screwed being an 8 in this tournament. So that could be dicey for Auburn, playing basically a road game as a 1 seed against Louisville in the second round if they get there.
Turn around for Louisville from last year when they went 1-50.
You're right. A hell of a job by them.
Hell of a job. Great recruiter.
He's a great recruiter, indeed. So there you go. And if you like Louisville to beat them, maybe you'd like them at 18-1 to win the West region. You never know. You get on the South, You get on a little bit of a roll. Anything is possible. That's for sure. All right, the East. Give you the East next. We'll roll over there. Of course, the 1 seed in the East is going to be Duke, who's going to play the winner of American and Mount St. Mary's, Mississippi State, Baylor, Oregon, Liberty, Arizona, Akron. It's too bad these two are playing each other, BYU and VCU, because I liked both of them to maybe make some noise. And, of course, they're playing each other. Wisconsin against the Grizzlies, St. Mary's against Vandy, and Alabama's going to play Bobby Moe in the first round. Not a good draw for Bobby Moe after winning the Horizon tournament.
Yeah, they're going down. They're not beating Alabama. I think that a couple interesting games there, believe it or not, are BYU, VCU, and I'm going to say it. The Arizona-Akron game. Akron is really good. They're tough as hell. And I mean to tell you, I think, I saw a lot of people saying that Arizona was going to beat Duke. They better worry about beating Akron before that. This is what people do. They're like, they're just going to move right through and cut their way to, Duke, and they just have it all. Everybody has it all figured out. You have it all figured out until your girlfriend is sleeping with the guy on the other team, the night before the game. That's when you really find out what you're made of.
Philadelphia 76ers, they tried to play two different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. This goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.